Welcome to the Thin Blue Line Outdoors Podcast.
This pig came barreling.
Just ended up puking last night. It sucked.
Whoa! Ah!
We gut it, we wrap it in tinfoil, throw it over the fire.
All right, everyone. Cody Johnson here with the Thin Blue Line Outdoors Podcast, episode 99. We're getting real close to that 100 mark. It's hard to believe we are going to be hitting that here soon. This year's been definitely a good year with podcasts. But we have the infamous Redcoat here on the podcast. So it's been a couple podcasts ago since you've seen him last. And I know he has always told me good stories about the Polish hammer cost, and I know we have seen some of his Yodi footage in the past. If you go to the channel, I can put a link in the description below if you guys want to check that out. But ourselves as a brand, especially Ryan's the one who led the charge here, and then now I'm starting to go down the rabbit hole of coyote hunting with thermals. And it is, I've only done it twice now. I'm already addicted. I already been talking to a guy about getting a thermal this year, all that good stuff. I know the Redcoat here says a lot for you about getting them into it and all that good stuff. And obviously watching some of your footage, I know you guys like your dog hunting, among other things like your black bear and stuff in the background. But at this point in time, I'm going to kick it over to the Redcoat, kind of let him lead this interview, this podcast, and I'll just jump in here and there. Go ahead, Ron.
Introducing the world to the Polish hammer, ladies and gentlemen. He's podcast, the Polish hammer. Welcome, lads. Welcome.
Good to be here.
Good to be here as always. Listen, so for those that have been watching the channel for a long time, the 370-yard shot with the Halo thermal scope that dropped that puppy in its tracks was this guy right here. I know I've done a couple of episodes. We took a few GoPros down. It was a little bit dark when I went down last year, but I'd like to start by just how I sort of came across the hammer and the rabbit hole he's got me down to. A couple of years ago, I met this guy. Solid guy. We worked together for a good few months, and one night he had this private opportunity to hunt some private lands during night season, and he said, "You want to come along?" I said, "Yeah." I said, I've got a little fox caller. Shall I bring that? No. I've got one of them, green red lights. Shall I bring that? No. I've got listen, just bring yourself. I'm like, what's going on here? What type of hunting are we doing in the dark here? Mate, when I tell you, I showed up and I thought about all my shit I was going to bring and looked at all this shit. I'm like, I'm way out of my league here. I had no idea what this thermal game was about. Cause how long have you been into the thermal hunting, lad?
Oh, wow. Probably 6 or 7 years. I was doing night vision before that.
Yeah.
And definitely thermals the way to go.
Mate, I couldn't believe it. It was one of them things where it was like I seen it, loved it, thought I need a piece of that. So as you know, I spent the next year or so saving up trying to get myself, and ended up getting a couple of top of the line European models and all that.
Oh, I remember.
You remember them?
Oh, I remember. Still got them. Yeah, the thermal world's it's developing pretty quick. So definitely the technology going into it, it's getting a lot bigger. It's definitely surpassing night vision.
Is it?
So
what for the viewers that don't really know much about it, I tried to explain on a previous podcast the specs of my thermal scope. I mean, even when I look at mine and I look at the Halo, what you've got, which is a really top end scope, the difference is just night and day. So when you're in the market for a scope, what are some of the minimum, for the viewers, what are some of the minimum specifications they should be looking for? Because I mentioned that the thermal world is a whole range, and you can go as low as $500-$600, and you can go as high as $12,000, $15,000, $20,000 for scopes. So what are some things you're looking for and they should be looking for?
So it's getting pretty common now to be in the 640 resolution. The 380 is still good. 384, you still do a lot of great hunting, but it all depends on what's your base magnification. So if I get a 640 and my base magnification is 2, then once I zoom in, if I go to the next zoom in, should be the 2x, then I cut my resolution in half. So the base magnification is huge when you start looking into like coyote hunting, because you shoot longer ranges coyote hunting than you typically do hog hunting. So hog hunting doesn't really require a whole lot of magnification at the base, where coyote hunting, we prefer the higher magnification base, because once we start zooming in, we start cutting that resolution in half each time. So 640 down to 360 and then, or 370, and then down, keep going down in half. So.
It's interesting, that, isn't it? So it's a big game. It's something that I definitely want to develop in as well. And I know Cody's talked about it. I got a text off my brother-in-law this morning. He's got permission on a property in Wisconsin. He's just moved up to Wisconsin last year. Shout out to the redneck. But he texted me this morning saying he's just got permission to kill a few yotes up there. It's only a small parcel, but I went last year up to Wisconsin and me and him did a little coyote hunt for a few hours. But I feel like when I hunt with yous, I'm so far behind the game. It's like, one of them annoying kids asking loads of questions, needing to like soak everything in to catch up all of these years. But it's fun. It's really
it's a lot. And I found that as far as call wise, a few sounds just typically work in your area, and they don't always work every time, but it's like fishing. I mean, fish are in the water, just you don't always catch them. So.
Oh, yeah. All right, so we can get back to the thermal hunting and all that. What about you? Let's introduce you, brother. I mean, as Boom says, cause this, cause that, Kyle and cause the Southern Illinois boys, they're doing this, they've got this. I talk a lot about you. I really wanted to get this podcast going so that we can introduce the team and the world to the Polish Hammer, because from the conversations we've had, man, you have got so much to offer, mate. So I want to know how you got started. But listen, just before we move on, Boom, listen to this. I sent a picture of you and your deer to Cos. I said, what do you think that scores? This is 7 to 10 days before you got your official score.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, this man didn't just text me back what he thought it was. It was like, G1 is 12.5 inch and this, that, the G2 is 20 inch and that. And like, when I tell you this text was about that long, and it had every single antler with what he thought off a picture. He said, give or take an inch or two, because he's holding it out in front of him. Not much junk around the base. That won't be worth much at all. The bases of this, he said, 159, 160. Bro, when I tell you, Boom, you text like 10 days later. I screenshotted your message, cropped it, and sent it. That motherfucker says, you're not going to fucking believe it.
Yep, I was 2/8 off from 160. So
from a picture, every single, I was like, yo, I couldn't believe it. I said, you're not going to believe this. Boom, and sent it right back to him. So I know you've got a lot to offer. How did you get into it, Cos? How long have you been doing it? Who got you into it? Tell us all about it, lad.
Definitely my dad. My dad got me into it. His dad wasn't much of a hunter, and he grew up in the eastern Ohio area. I mean, and back then they didn't have hardly any deer over there. When they killed a deer, like it was on the hood of the car, driving around town. Everybody thought you were the man. You killed a deer. So hunting was a big part of his life. I mean, he even fed his family and his neighbors. He'd sell rabbits and grouse and stuff like that. So he was the one that got me in pretty early, rabbit hunting, dove hunting. I think I started deer hunting when I was 9. And from there I fell in love and took off with it. So
I'm gonna jump in real quick. Are you born and raised in Illinois then, or were you originally from Ohio?
No, born and raised in Illinois. So yeah, my dad came to Illinois with my mom, and I was born in Indiana, and we lived in Illinois the whole time, but we're kind of close to the Indiana border.
I see.
I was going to ask you the question there. So your dad got you into it pretty early. You were 9 years old. What about your biggest deer? What's your biggest deer you shot? Just so I can gauge from this fella what I've got. What's your biggest?
My biggest deer, I'm not even sure. I haven't really scored it. They're all going to score typically, so I'm a big fan of net scores, and a lot of people say nets are for fish, but so all my deer don't score very much. They're 150, 160 class deer. So
Good deer.
I'll play the dummy then. Again, we're all about education. That's one of our goals with the Thin Blue Line Outdoors. One of our goals is education. So typically when you hear about people scoring, you always ask, what did you score your deer? And it typically comes out as inches. And we measure each antler and all that stuff. What's the net score?
The net score, so that you got to allow for dry time. So that the rack's got to dry. I forget how many days. Is it 90 days or something specific like that?
Something like 60 or 90. I don't remember. It's one of the two, I think. Mm-hmm.
So you allow for dry time, and then the net score is the rack with deductions. So typical scored, perfection. Everything has to be identical. So if you get a 12-inch G2 and a 6-inch G2, you got 6 inches of deduction there. So
I like the gross.
Most time you ask people with a deer score, and they'll just give you a total bone, which it's been common these days. So
So the next score allows for any loss during dry time.
So, for example, Ryan, my dad's book that he got, his gross score is going to be pretty good, because he's got all kinds of nastiness and stuff. His net score is not going to be worth a damn. So I don't know what his score is yet. It's at the taxidermist right now, but it's so lopsided and goofy looking, which I like the goofy looking bucks. I think they're cool looking. But there is something about when you get a big typical 10-pointer or something coming through the woods at you. Yeah. I like them both. I don't dislike any of it.
Yeah. Hey, but are you all right after that, Boom? Because I know that book that your dad on your target list. Have you got over that yet? Like, it's
going to be a good video. It's going to come out. It should be out already when this podcast comes out. So essentially, I talked about it on the podcast that will be coming out today as we record it. We had a little late recording on it, so it's coming out a couple of days late. But I talked about it briefly. Long story short, on November 8th, I had a new buck come into my property that I didn't know. I actually had him on my camera October. It was either 15th or 17th, somewhere in there, on the very north end of my on my dad's side of the farm. And he just came. He was on my property for a day, so I'm pretty sure he's living on my neighbors to the north. Well, anyway, I get on my cell cam. I wake up. I had a plan. I was going to go hunt a different property with my brother-in-law and Nate. And I see this new buck on my property. I'm like, oop, okay, he's going south. He's on the neighbors at the bedding area. If he comes north, I got a perfect stand for him. And man, I drew it like game plan wise, man, 100%. I couldn't plan it any better. And sure enough, I go up and I had hung this set 2 or 3 days prior because I knew all these bucks are cruising by it. And so I'm 25 foot up in this tree. Next, I've seen all kinds of bucks and does. Next, I see this doe hauling from the bedding area in front of me a couple hundred yards away. I'm like, okay, just the way she's running, like there's definitely a buck behind her. I just got the feeling it's a big one. And next, here comes this guy, perfect, coming right at me. I'm like, oh, here we go. I got all the cameras rolling. Everything's perfect. The doe runs right underneath me, so I set the camera. I go ahead and pull back. He's coming. He's like 50 yards. Stops right behind brush at like 18 yards. So I'm on him, but it's through brush. I'm like, shit. Anyway, this doe does a big loop around. He chases her around. So anyway, I let down and get all the cameras. He comes running back at me. He stops at like 30, 32, somewhere in there. I'm pulled back again. I can see that he's on the camera, but he's frontal, so I don't want to take the frontal shot when I'm that high up. He takes another 5 to 8 steps. He's at 22 yards exactly. I can see that I have a branch in my way. So I crouch in my tree stand to clear that branch, and I know exactly what I did. I pulled my cheek off the string to make sure I cleared that branch, And as soon as my cheek touched again, I fired off. I did not resettle. I thought it was a clean miss at first. I actually found out when I went down and checked my arrow, I skimmed his back. It just had fat and a little bit of blood on it. And he, mind you, when I shot, he ran 10 yards away, turned and faced me again, didn't know what happened. If I had another arrow ready to go, obviously I just froze. I could have shot him again. But he didn't know what happened. He almost gave me another opportunity a minute or two later. This is all on camera. And then he starts chasing the doe behind me for about another 5 minutes. I could hear him, but I couldn't see him. And there's a big bedding area behind us, like where my dad and I's farm. So I own 60 acres. He owns 100. There's a big bedding area that's literally divided by his property and my property line. So I'm texting him. I'm like, he's in this bedding area with his doe. I'm pretty sure he found this doe last night after the picture I got him. On average, you have 72 hours, they say, when a buck finds a doe to breed her. Like, when he gets done, he's going to go north or south. I don't know which, but he's going to go north or south. Well, Dad was hunting the blind to the north. I hunted the blind to the south, and our plan was we're going to hunt here for 72 hours. We're going to hunt here for 3 days and see what happens. Sure enough, the very next afternoon, he went north instead of going south to me. He went north to my dad. My dad smoked him at 20 yards, died in the field. So, again, super happy. Like I said, I would have loved to wrap my tag around him, been bucked out here in Illinois. I'm happy somebody in the Johnson clan got him, So that's awesome. And Dad hasn't killed a big buck in a while. He's killed some nice, like, 120, 130 class deer, but they're always kind of on the younger side, like probably around that 3-year-old range. This guy was a true, like, I think he was 5, if I had to guess. And he's not gross. He's gonna be anywhere between 150 to 165. I know I'm giving like 15 inches of play there, but he's just so goofy. It's hard to tell. Like I said, if you take his net's probably not going to be worth much. But he's definitely an old mature deer, and that's all we want. Get a mature deer there. And again, I'm happy I got my hands on him. Just not the way obviously I wanted at first, but it's the second best thing, and I was honestly just really happy for him.
Definitely, mate. Always good.
Mm-hmm.
What about your plans? That was a great story, mate. I'm hoping I can join one of them stories next week. What are your plans for the upcoming season?
Deer-wise, on camera, I've got nothing to be excited about. I had a real good one last year. Slipped by my brother-in-law. He got kind of a quick shot at it, but didn't come up with him. And since then, nothing on the properties that I've seen that just gets me excited to be happy to sit all day, and ready to go. So,
and your excited completely different to my excited, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right now on the props that I'm getting nothing. I'm getting nothing. And I don't know whether that's placement of the cameras or whatever, but as everyone knows, Saturday, my brother will be here. We always go to the farm. He's a good apprentice to me. Helps me out a lot on the farm. And then we just hit it hard. We've got 7 days, 8 days if need be. And we're just going to absolutely smash it. I've got no meat in the freezer. So it's crunch time now. So I went and picked up another crossbow. I drove to Madison, Wisconsin. So thanks to my Uncle Butch for that. Gives me another option there on a crossbow. Got to play the winds. I've got to learn more about thermals. He's been doing a lot of public land hunting this year.
Yeah, the morning's tough. The morning's hard to get in clean without anything scenic because they're on their feet early in the morning. And the good part is the thermals are typically rising, so it can hide your scent a little bit easier. So then that's a play at night where night thermals typically are dropping and your scent gets a little bit closer to the ground.
So what about this? I always, like, even when my brother-in-law Jesse, the redneck, and my brother, every time when we've done this camp for a week long, like I always said, we want to be in the stand an hour before, and typically, we're sitting in the stand the whole hour, pitch black.
Yeah.
Beforehand, you think I'm doing too much by doing that, or?
And that's tough. It just depends on your deer movement. I mean, are you sitting close to food? Are you in that travel corridor where they're leaving their bedding area headed to food? It just depends on where you try to slip in at.
Okay.
So
I would
you take
agree
a
with
thermal
him.
with you, you can see where they're at.
Yeah.
It's true. This is true. No, I agree with Cause. I know, like, I go, Ryan, you're only hunting, 10 acres. But between my farms, I got spots that I know to be morning stands. I know these are the best ends to go morning. And I had a couple spots I know I do not hunt evenings out of them because not so much that I can get in clean. I can't get out clean, though, on my evening stand. So if I kill one, great. But if I don't kill one, I can't get out. Like, I got a really good pinch point area. This year it hasn't been that good, but in years past, it's been a really good spot. I love hunting mornings there. It's in between two bedding areas, and then so to the north and south, I got two bedding areas. To the east and west, I got two crop fields, and I know I can get in there clean in the mornings, but the evenings I bust deer every time I've tried. It's been years now since I've tried, but I know I can't hunt evenings there. So. Speak of the devil, we were just talking about your big buck.
Somebody's got to shoot him.
Yeah, Uncle Rob.
He can't hear you because I got my speedphones in, but yeah.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Yeah, Ryan says congrats. Yeah, no, exactly. And which Ryan, like I said, you kind of, because you got to travel so far to hunt, and it's only 10 acres. You gotta do with the best you got with. You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is.
In my defense, though, the last 2 years, like this year, I think I've got about maybe 16, 17, 18 gigabytes of footage. And, all of it right now is B-roll, obviously, until I get the kill shot. But, like, I passed deer. Nothing to write home about, and that's why I passed them, A 6-point buck, a 4-point buck, young deer. That's what I'm seeing. And I passed them, but hoping that the big one would come. I know last week was supposed to be a good week for movements. We know next week's going to be a great week for movements here in Illinois. So I'll let them go in the hopes that something bigger will come past. But I mean, now it's crunch time.
Well, it's also a thing too, man. Like, you got what, a 4-hour drive, 3-4 hour drive to get to your place.
Yeah.
It's a lot different for me. So you're setting, months in advance. You're saying I'm hunting these days. Where me, I wake up here, whether I'm in second shift or third shift, it doesn't matter. I know I can either hunt mornings or evenings, no matter what shift I'm working. If I wake up and it's a shitty day of deer movement, it's hot, whatever, I don't hunt. If I wake up and like, ooh, I didn't plan on hunting today, but it is cold, deer are moving on my camera, I go jump in the woods. Like, it's just nature of the beast. You got to deal with what you got to deal with,
Yeah. What about you, Cos? I know our mate Kyle loves a good public hunt.
Yeah.
And we'll get Kyle on the podcast. I've been trying to twist his arm. I asked him, have you got yourself a GoPro yet? Get yourself a GoPro. So hopefully slowly, but he's a big dog guy. You know what I mean? Over here. So we'll get him on the camera this winter. But what about you, Cos? Like, when it comes to like deer hunting, have you got private? Do you hunt public? Are you close, far? Like, how do you normally play your deer season?
I hunt a lot of private. I really haven't touched on the public too much. The hard part about private is typically when farmers are nice enough to let you hunt it, you rather know them really well, or they're just nice enough to let everyone else hunt it too. So I just found out yesterday, like one of my best spots, he has a guy from Georgia he just ran into at the gas station and gave him permission to bow hunt there. I'm like, all right. Like, I had food plots on the guy's ground, and I've been getting, I was like, every time I get a camera picture of someone trespassing, I don't just run like, hey, who is this? I don't want to run to the owners. I don't want to bother them too much or think there's an issue.
Yeah.
So I ran into him on the property, and I'm like, hey, just by chance, do you know of someone else that's on the ground? He goes, and then he told me about the guy from Georgia that he allowed to be on there. And I'm like, all right, well, it explains a lot. So, but yeah, as far as time frames, if I'm in a place that I know I can't get into the morning, sometimes that 8-9 o'clock time is the best time to go hunt, because then you sit, especially now because the full moon's coming. I mean, the moon's bright, and you can sit through that 11, 12 o'clock time frame and then be able to hit the evening and stay through there. And you kind of get to sleep in the morning. It's great too, but you don't have a chance of blowing out everything in the morning. So it's a good tactic to try every once in a while.
Well, all right. So hold on a sec, because that's really interesting to me, because I mean, you know, we're going to be doing a lot of dog hunting. You know what I mean? Hopefully on the farm, in the area where we hunt. And we thought, you know, we can do a dog hunt, and then we can go back, we can sleep, and then go out in the afternoon. What are you saying there about jumping in the stand at 9 o'clock? And why is that okay?
Well, like I have a field that I hunt, and I know every time I scan it going in, I'm seeing 8, 9, 10 deer in the field, and I'm trying to walk in, and they're going to get blown out. Well, typically there's not a lot of deer out in a bean field, a picked bean field at 9 o'clock. Everyone's typically getting out of the stand. Deer starting to get pushed around a little bit.
Okay.
But with the full moon, it's how the deer are moving through the night. They can see well. They move throughout the night, and they kind of bed down between the 8 to 11 o'clock. It's weird how they do it during the full moon, but they do. They bed down, take a little rest, and then they get back up at about 11. I had a buddy with a big 10-point a couple of days ago that he was hunting, and he's giving us play-by-play, like deer's 80 yards with a doe. Deer just bred the doe. And I'm like, all right. He said, just laid down. I'm like, well, we'll get back up about between 11 and 12. And at 11:20, he called me, hey, this deer's back on its feet. I'm like, that's what's going to happen. So it's not 100% foolproof, but they do move on full moon. Like right now, we're close to that hunter's moon, and it's that 11 to noon to 1, you'll see a lot of deer moving.
That is great. That is really good to know that. You know, that's great to know. So, I mean, we put the graft in, as Cody said, you know, it's the 3-hour drive. I've said to you before, you know, there's days when I've driven longer than I've hunted. Just all over it, just because I had some sort of pattern on these turkeys. And I said, you know what? It's been here the last 2 days. I'm going for it.
Yeah.
And he absolutely crushed me first in Illinois, Tom. By doing that, it was a pain in the ass. Over 6 hours drive. I think we had something. I had the job done. We're not shy to put in a 4-day shift, especially with the freezers being so low now. Next week, I can imagine us doing pretty much 4-day shifts. So with what you've just said, that might not be a bad idea. At least until 12, 1. Maybe.
Yeah. Or if you typically have more action in an afternoon stand, and the mornings you're not getting a lot of success, then don't feel bad for sleeping in and then going out at 9. And then you're kind of through that noon part. But if you got any kind of, where I hunt on private, I have a lot of pressure around me. I mean, Southern Illinois, and everyone's hunting every woods they can get into. So they're getting out of the stand at between 8:30 and 9 o'clock because their belly's grumbling and they're ready to go eat breakfast, and they end up pushing deer right to your lap. So
my story, to go off of that story, my grandpa was probably 10 years ago now. They had a spot by the Spoon River they were hunting, and the property was surrounded. All the outlying properties had a whole bunch of hunters, and my grandpa knew that. So he went there in the morning and goes, I'm pulling all day. Killed the biggest buck of his life at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And no doubt it was, my guess is, other hunters going back into their stand for the afternoon hunt, pushed him right to him, killed him. Great big buck.
yeah.
So like, so if it's a full moon and they're going to be grazing through the night, bedding down, will they like say eat at 9, eat at 12, eat at 3, eat at 7? Is that how it works with deer, or is it just?
I don't know if it's so much what they're eating time frames, but it's just they're able to move around more. They don't bed down for the night because it's dark. They don't have. I mean, they got to worry about predators.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, so I don't know.
Yeah, I saw
behind it, but it's just something they seem to do.
Yeah.
We was talking about the moon rising. I know 2 nights ago, I saw midday. I saw 6 deer, and then you get to that prime time magic hour. I didn't see anything. You know.
Yeah.
No doubt. And then my camera was a couple hours later into, like 10 o'clock at night, the deer are moving. All my cameras are going off. So it just kind of depends. So, but the moon affects deer movement in one way, but so does weather. So does everything. It's just a factor into a whole bunch of other factors. So,
You've got some meat down though, cause haven't you?
Yep. Already got a doe down.
Yeah,
So my son shot a button buck.
that's right.
Unfortunately, I'm in the stand with him, and I'm telling him, "Hey, bud, don't shoot the first thing that comes out." And he goes, "I want to kill it." I'm like, "I know you want to, you can, just don't shoot the first thing that comes out. It's early." Couldn't help himself. He's like, "No, I want to shoot it." I'm like, "All right, it's your deer, it's your tag. Go ahead and shoot it." So he did, and I'm going down, and I'm looking for blood and checking everything, and I see him looking the other way. And I'm like, "What's he doing over there?" So come back, he's like, "Yeah, Dad, I seen this nice buck, had a drop tine." I'm like, 30 minutes. All he had to wait was 30 minutes. Yeah.
Oh.
A hard lesson to learn at 10 years old. So
but that was during youth season, that wasn't it? That's just like.
you see.
How was that? What was the conversation like? Because he must have been wanting a piece of that pie as well. But like, what? How did you approach that as a dad, like to a young hunter?
It's just it's an easy lesson. Like, you're sitting there telling him, don't shoot the first deer that comes out, and he had an experience with he shot the first deer, and then the next deer that comes by is a nice buck that he wishes he could have shot, but he only gets one tag, and unfortunately,
It's good though. It's good for him to learn that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he won't forget it. I promise you, he will not forget that.
Is that his first deer?
Second deer. It's a second deer.
So did you start him at 9 years old then? Actually shooting?
Start him at 9. Start at 9. Been taking him. I think
Go in the other room, buddy.
Pig hunting at 8, 7 or 8. He wasn't shooting yet, but yeah.
Yep. So I've taken both my kids out now. They're not shooting by any means. I got a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. But my 5-year-old keeps on asking, and I've seen a couple other guys on YouTube take their 5-year-old and 6-year-old and 7-year-old, and I watch them shoot these deer, and they have no idea what they just did. Like, I know I have no doubt I could probably get my daughter's skill level. That get one of those bog tripods, clamp down a crossbow, and I have no doubt I could get them to shoot a deer. But like, I want them to know you just took a life. Like, I want them to understand that. And I watch these other guys on YouTube and stuff, and those kids have no idea what they just did, and I don't want that.
As far as explaining it to my son, I'm like, but you're hunting for two things. One, you're hunting to control the population, because if not, then that's why EHD gets so bad, and CW, chronic waste disease. That's where that's all come from, is overpopulation. But the other one is just to feed your family. Like, you don't want to just go out there just to shoot something, just so you can shoot it and make a check mark off the list. Like, yeah, I shot my deer, I'm done. So a lot of purpose that you want to put into hunting to kind of develop the love for it. Passion.
And I've mentioned this many a times on different podcasts. The rights that you've got in this country, I just think are just phenomenal. Like, coming from England, like, you can't hunt. You can't go out and feed your family if you wanted to, and to be able to do that over here, it is a true honor, and to learn it. And I tell people all the time, like, I haven't bought steak for like 10 years. It's unbelievable. I put so much emphasis on filling that freezer because 98, no, it's a little bit less because we still buy chicken, but say 90% of my protein intake for the year is deer. And I just think that is just phenomenal. So to start kids off at a young age to develop that sense of purpose and understanding, and really have an appreciation for the sport, can only help it, can only keep it going forever. And I hope it does. I hope these rights never go away. I think he's one of the last countries on the planet that have got certain rights, and I hope he's never lose them. I really don't, because they're special. So brilliant, that, mate. So you've got 2 deer in your freezer. Are you, for the rest of the season now, are you sort of moving away from deer? Is 2 enough for your whole family for the year, or?
Well, yeah, you had 200 pounds of hog meat on top of it. Wild hog meat. You're doing all right in the deep freeze. I can't fit too much more.
And for the viewers, listen, the Polish Hammer's first video is coming out next year. It'll be the first video. after deer season's done, he's going to kickstart the new year off with the Thin Blue Line Outdoors. Cos just got back from Texas, and we've got all the footage. It was his first time. I think you did brilliant. I absolutely think you did brilliant for your first time. I appreciate that you jumped in with it. You got the cameras going. I thought you did a really good job, so I'm super excited to see that video. You went to Texas. You want to talk a little bit about Texas because you went for the whole week. It's a bit different to what we've done.
Yeah.
But what's yours, Tyler?
So, it's a buddy from college. His name's Shane. He manages a ranch in Texas, and they do two things. They have a high fence exotic, which still gets pigs in because you can't keep them out of a fence. And then they also have a low fence back area that they lease out to a company that just does deer hunting. So they do deer hunting off of it. I don't know the specific amount of acreage, but it's a lot. It's a lot of land. But we've been going there for 7 or 8 years now. So we typically try to do it every year. We've went February, March, April, and then the last quite a few times we went in September, and that's kind of been where we've had the most success. Sometimes you deal with the acorn drop. They got a good acorn crop that year. Then it's hard to see hogs at feeders, but it's feeder driven. He's got a deer farm where he raises whitetails, and we see a lot of pigs. So this year he told us he's been seeing 5 pigs in his. He thinks he has 5 pigs left. Let's put it that way. He's trapped some. He shot some. He's like, I think I got about 5 left that's breaking in there. And the first night out, we're looking. We've seen 52. I'm like, you got more than 5, bud. So,
not even close.
yeah, right. We had a big group come through early, and then another big group came back a little bit after. We were set up for them to get some shots, and we weren't sure if it was the same group of pigs because it was so big. I mean, it had nice pigs in. It's hard to tell the difference. But the next evening, we're like, well, we'll set up early. That way, because we shot them in the later part of the night, we'll set up early. If we get the early group, if there's 2 different groups, we'll get them. And we ended up it was definitely 2 different groups.
How many pigs did you slay?
12 pigs. I think we killed 4 mature large sows, which was really good for him to get them off there. So he always appreciates that.
Mm-hmm.
And you did some day hunting, some night hunting. I see you had some thermals out there, but you were also hunting through the day as well. You just did it all.
Yeah, it's a long week of not sleeping is basically what it is, especially when you start adding the night sits over the deer pens. It's rough.
Sounds amazing.
So, and then, I mean, even the butcher, because we butcher the 12 pigs. We debone, put everything in gallon baggies, freeze it so that all we got to do is cover it with ice and everything's frozen already and head back. And that way meat doesn't have a chance to spoil or anything like that. So
I'm gonna jump in right there. So I love wild hog meat. Sounds like we all do here. But it's funny. It seems like people are either in the camp we're in where we love it. It tastes really good. Or I've had other people ask me, like, "You eat those pigs when you go hunting?" I'm like, "Yeah, they're good." And they're like, "Man, I've always been told wild hogs are nasty." And I got a buddy, and he'll probably listen to this, Jacob with Cold Creek Outdoors. He's got connections in Texas, and you get farmers up there that just want those hogs gone, and he'll go up there and kill them. He doesn't keep them. He's like, he was told by those guys down there, they're not worth eating, not worth keeping. Just shoot them, let them rot. And I've told him again and again and again, like, no, it is good. And I've cooked. I can't even tell you how many pork burgers I've cooked for people who've never had wild pig before, and I've yet to have anybody not like it. Everybody's liked it so far. And some people aren't crazy about deer, but a pork burger is just a good white meat. It really takes whatever flavoring, whatever seasoning you add very well. And I bet I've fed over 50 people different pork burgers, and every single person's liked it.
Yeah, sometimes I'll take some bacon and grind some bacon into it and make it's like a bacon sizzler. Mm-hmm. Look out. You know, and
Every time you mention bacon, man, you know the deer bacon boom. You know the deer.
oh no,
Listen,
it's so bad a dog wouldn't even eat it, man.
dude. If Kyle have been giving me a hard time. They're saying that my butcher's putting fucking yoti meat in it. And
Possum. It wasn't deer bacon. It was possum, coyote, skunk. It was something, but it wasn't deer bacon. There's no way.
So I didn't know for years when I started hunting with Ryan, he kept saying deer bacon. I was like, what the hell are you eating? So he brought some, and I thought it's okay. It's not great. It's okay.
Yeah.
Like I'll eat it. But it's not bacon. It's not, to me. It's not bacon. It's breakfast meatloaf is what it's like.
It's definitely meatloaf.
Yeah.
But on another story, you tried it, Boone, didn't you? You made your own.
I did. I like mine better than whoever's making yours up there.
I gave you some of mine, Ryan. You liked it though.
Listen, cause I've got two things to say. Your deer bacon, fucking homemade, fucking lovely. And you know them sausages that you give me that you made yourself?
Yeah.
That's when I tell you, mate, boom. I wish you would have shared some. I took it to deer camp last year. Every single day we had sausage and egg on toast for breakfast. That sausage was fucking lovely, mate. How many pounds did you make last year?
How many pounds of sausage?
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Wasn't it
I don't
something?
know. Probably 150 pounds, something like that.
You
It was like
from,
two.
What are you making it
days.
from? What are you making it from?
Oh, just from my house.
No, I'm talking about like is it venison, pork? What is it?
Both, yeah. So I'll make
Both.
some deer sausages, breakfast sausage, different stuff, and then I also do the pork. I'm a big fan of the pork breakfast sausage, but it's easier because you don't have to stuff it. When you start having to get into the stuffing process, then it takes quite a bit more time.
Yeah. Yeah. Good stuff. A lot to learn, but I've got a couple of packs of my deer bacon left that I'll be taking to deer camp with me. And
You got an iron gut. I'm just going to tell you that. No taste buds, but an iron gut.
The English are known for having iron guts, though, aren't we? We're known for that, though.
Well, Cost got a couple questions I want to get in here before we take too much of your time. Number one, kind of go back. You're a law enforcement officer. If you just want to give us a very brief background when you go from there, and then I'll go to the next question. So go ahead.
Yeah, my first career was I was a coal miner, so I was like a third or fourth generation coal miner with the family. I did that 17 years, and I was like, man, coal mining's not looking like it's going anywhere. Had a great job, enjoyed what I did, but I was like, I got to do something different because I'm not going to retire until I'm 67 years old. You know, I don't want to work till I'm an old man. And I have a brother who's an Illinois law enforcement officer, and I was like, he taught me into it for a couple years, and finally jumped into it, did it, and I'm happy. I'm not looking back. So,
how many years you been in law enforcement now?
3 years. So I've been in 3 years. Pretty fresh to it, but seen a lot already. Experienced a lot.
Yep. And I'm hoping here in Illinois. Even though we have our politics, hoping maybe we're going in the right direction right now. We'll wait and see. Time will tell. But number one, okay. And again, I know it's only been 3 years for you, but one thing I like to ask all my first responders that get on here, you were very fortunate. Sounds like you've been an outdoorsman your whole life. So have I. Have you had any experience or your version or your story along where, I know how stressful work can be. What's like having that release to get into the outdoors mean to you related to the first responder field? If you have any thoughts on that.
Well, I know with bad crashes, it's made that a lot easier to deal with. Just because I've seen a lot of death, dealt with a lot of different animals, different parts, and it kind of made that a little bit not personal, I guess. So I'm someone who's, for whatever reason, has kind of a cutoff, like a shut off, I should say, when it comes to seeing those things, and you're like, it's just another body, another thing. So I think that's a huge one, being an outdoorsman, that's helped is that aspect. Because I mean, I know Ryan's probably gut shot some animals and
just the one. Just the one. And it was a 130-yard shotgun season.
But I mean, obviously, COVID hasn't killed every part of your, your toes, but it's helped with that also. So,
Yep. Nope. That's good to kind of talk about that. And then, okay, so the next question. Okay, so when it comes to you thermal guys, I'm putting you guys in the lump group here right now. Okay,
all right,
so I got a good friend I grew up in high school with. You know, we grew up deer hunting and stuff together. But he went in the thermal game. He's kind of the guy who's taking me under his wing now, and I'm going down that rabbit hole. It seems like when you thermal guys jump into it, everything else becomes second. It's all about that thermal hunting. So how'd you get into it, number one? And I guess, I mean, is that your new passion now, like your number one thing? Or just go ahead, man.
That's a good question.
That's a really good question because I love, like, deer hunting was my thing. Like I loved the chase, and I loved it. And then everyone always talked about turkey hunting, about how and I tried it in college. I'm like, yeah, didn't have a lot of success, not a huge fan. And it seems like, man, the thermal game is really, it kind of has taken over. Like, I'm not excited. I haven't seen a big buck. I know I can go out to a few places and kill some does and fill the freezer. But man, yeah, I typically haven't ever thermal hunted this early or even coyote hunted in general. And I find myself every year wanting to go earlier, get into coyote tournaments, which, man, it's a thrill because you're under pressure to get these numbers, right? And then the more numbers, the bigger the dog, better chance you have at winning. You never know until you go to check-in.
Yep.
Where you're at. So you're going in blind. How did you do that night? You know? So it really has kind of taken over as a passion. I find myself spending a lot more money now on certain calls and thermal scopes because it's an investment to get into the thermal game. I mean, obviously, anyone can go out with a spotlight and a mouth call and get lucky, but you're just increasing your opportunity when you start being able to practice a little bit better woodsmanship, get in tight, not seen, and you're using thermals to help you get there.
I've only done it twice now. Go ahead, Ryan. Sorry. Go ahead.
Just because you mentioned you've done pretty well. I think did you come second or something in a big tournament last year? You made a little bit of money last year in a couple.
Oh yeah, we won one tournament. Came in I think second or third on the other one.
Didn't you only come second, like Team Fox Pro or something?
Yeah, that was one. We got second. They came from Kansas, so that tournament's in Marine, Illinois. It's a tough tournament because you got guys that come from out of state where their coyote population is a lot higher in Illinois. I'm willing to put myself and our team up against anyone in Illinois that wants to hunt in Illinois, and we're going to be close. It's going to be within a few dogs of the win, and we'll be in the teens to, if it's a 2-day tournament. Now you're talking 20 in the 20s, but they show up with 42 dogs in 2 days, and that's just not really. I don't think we have that coyote population. I think there's too many people here because we don't get to shoot rifles for deer season, and that's like the whole fun of coyote season is being able to use a rifle and reach out and touch something.
Yeah. How many dogs do you think you killed last year? This is my last question on this. How many
dogs I killed last year? Oh, I don't know, 100 probably last year. Took care of about 100 around there.
Yeah, and I know, obviously, I'm sure you guys in Southern Illinois are the same way here in West Central Illinois. Everything's leased up when it comes to deer hunting, and nobody wants you to hunt. Either it's bought or leased or whatever. But you knock on that farmer's door and be like, "Hey, I just want to hunt at night and kill coyotes." Almost every single farmer's like, "Yeah, kill them all," So yeah, that's I know it's a lot different than deer.
I've had a lot of success with getting a hold of outfitters that actually already lease a lot of ground, and I'm like, "Hey, I won't be on there, during your deer season. I was like, if I can get in January 1st, we call it January 1st. You want me to wait till the end of deer season? Then we'll do the end of deer season. I said, it doesn't matter to me as long as I can get out there. And if you got a problem area, just let me know it. Like you got to sell big deer the same way, any business, they're in the business of killing deer. And if you got coyotes running your deer off, I mean, I have a guy right now that's texting me. He's like, hey, I need you to eradicate these coyotes. I got them all over my property. I'm getting 3 pictures a day. And I'm like, you want me to go right now? He's like, yeah. If you want to go tonight, go kill them. I'm like, all right.
Okay.
And that's another thing is, as coyote hunters, we don't have to push in to your deer hunting areas where you're going to sit in a tree stand. Like I don't have to get all the way up in there close. I'm going to stay out. If it's dark, the moon allows it, I'll stay out in the middle of the field and I'll call them to it.
So I just noticed that it seems like when people dive into the thermal gate, they go all in. So that's what I had my question on there. My last question, and then we can let you go unless Ryan's got any more. I love bear hunting. Big bear hunter. I see the rug behind you. What's the story, man? I gotta hear it. I love hearing bear hunting stories.
So yeah, it was kind of a whim. My wife and I, we got engaged, and I was like, you know what, I want to go bear hunting before I get married. It's just kind of a whim. So looked around for a while and found a place in Manitoba, Canada. I settled with. Ended up it's Leaf Rapids. It's in Lynn Lake. It's way north. So worked it out, paid my money, and I flew into Winnipeg, and then from Winnipeg I got in a prop plane and then flew into a little town called Thompson. And then from Thompson, I got a rent-a-car, drove 3 hours straight north into Leaf Rapids, and it's probably one of the best trips I've ever been on. Like, if I could do it again, if I could do it every year, I probably would. Just because you fish all day, I mean, all morning, all day, you can go fish. I mean, catching northern pike, catching walleye. I mean, it was a great time. Beautiful place. So
did you kill that bear with your bow, your gun, or what? What's the situation?
I'm one of the bow. So
with a I gotta clarify, with a real man's bow, like a compound, not a crossbow, right?
Yeah. It was with a compound bow. It wasn't a crossbow. Wasn't a long bow either, but
that's fine. That's fine. I'll give you as long as it's a real man vertical bow. Those people who shoot crossbows, I don't get them.
Yeah, this bear, it actually it knew I was there. It knew I was in the tree stand. It actually climbed my tree stand and was like sniffing around at me before it climbed back down and went to the barrel. So I've never shook in nervousness so hard as I did hunting bear. And I mean, I was scared. I really was. I mean, just some people get buck fever, make bad shots. Ryan. But,
we're just poking Ryan to this show. I love it.
Hey, it's the English. It's why we won the war, right? But,
exactly.
He's guns away. We haven't had years to practice like yous. We haven't.
Yeah, he's still new to it. But after I made the shot, like I've never shook so hard as I did when I shot this bear. So it was incredible.
What do you weigh?
He's like 230, 240. Wasn't a monster. Its head. So they call them meatheads or boneheads. So sometimes that far north you get bears with heavy skull, big skulls, and some is just a lot of fat and a lot of meat. And so you start talking Pope and Young and Boone and Crockett. I think it was short an 1/8 inch of going Pope and Young. So it was a bonehead. It was a small bear for up there, but did have a big skull.
Hey man, I've been very fortunate. I've killed 4 bears in my life so far. We always go to Ontario. I love it, man. If I could do it every year, I would. 100%, like you said, when they come in, like I shake when I get a big buck comes in front of me, but when a bear comes in front of me, it's a whole nother thing. And I'm really not I'm not scared of them anymore. When I first started, I was, but now I've been around them enough now because I've killed 4 and I've been with a couple others and filmed them as they've killed bears. So I've been around them a lot now. So that fear aspect's kind of gone away a little bit, which might be a little dangerous to be honest with you. But I respect them and just the way they look at you and study you. You know, not every bear, but almost every bear I've shot saw me. Not everyone, but almost. And my biggest one, well, no, sorry, not the biggest one. This is a bear I should have killed, but I was brand new to bear hunting. I'd never had a big one come in that was over 300 pounds. And he knew I was there, and it was my first day ever bear hunting. And I told myself, I don't want to really kill one on the first day. Well, I never saw that bear again, but that bear 100% knew I was there, looked at me, and the vibe I got from that bear was, yeah, I see you there. What you gonna do about it? Like this is my woods, you know. I'll fuck you up.
So I was hunting one spot, and it's the spot I killed this bear at. But it was late. It was like 11 o'clock at night because that far north it stays lighter a lot later, and it doesn't get like real dark other than like 2 hours. And it's kind of dark-ish for a couple hours, and it gets back to light again.
Yep.
So we're getting to that late evening, 11 p.m., something like that, and I see a bear coming in, and it's huge, and my thermals are dropping. It smells me, and it takes off to my right, and then all thing I see is it like smacking trees that are this big around and knocking them down, and it's pouncing. I can hear its teeth chattering. I'm just like, it's snarling, and I'm in the tree, and I'm like a rattlesnake's tail. I got a bow, and I'm like, this thing's gonna eat me. And then the other worst part is where it was coming in at. That's where I got to walk out. So that's where I walked in, and I got to walk out that way. And I'm like, So I did it with an arrow knocked, like creeping through there. And the next day, this bear came in, and like I said, it actually jumped on my stand, like on the feet of my stand, looked up at me, and then it went to the barrel when I shot it. But when we were walking back with the bear, I seen a tree that the other bear that I'd seen had marked. So it was the bigger boar, and I couldn't reach up and touch where its canines had bit the tree. So they bite bark and they'll scrape with their claws the trees, but it had bit a part of the tree that I couldn't reach up and touch. That's how big that bear was. Like, gosh.
Yeah.
So
Ryan, we got to get you in Canada sometime, man.
Canada's a dream. Canada's a dream. As I say, this is going to be the 3rd year now flying from Montana. I've got to get Montana. Get this year. Once that, I've already got an envelope. I've got 2 envelopes downstairs. One that says Wisconsin bear, which you've got like $500 in it, because I've got like 9 points this year. It'll be 10 points. So and then the other envelope's Canada bear. I've got every penny that we need for Montana done. I've got every penny, travel, gas, spends, tags, everything. I just need to get a tag, but we're good on that. Once we've done that, Canada's on the list. It looks amazing. Sounds amazing.
All righty. Well, again, we're almost to an hour. Ryan, do you have any last questions or anything for Koss?
Appreciate you coming on, lads. I've been excited to get you on and introduce you to Boom. And I appreciate he teaches me a lot. He's got patience of Job as well. And I can't wait to see what he does with these dogs this year, because I know it's going to be an explosive year, mate. Explosive.
Yeah.
So thank you for coming on, because I appreciate you.
No problem, man. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, Koss, thanks. It's good to meet you virtually. We definitely have to get together and hunt or sometime together. It'd be fun. It'd be a blast. For everybody else, if you guys want to see his pig hunt, like I said, I've already looked at it, already kind of got where I want to make the video. It's going to come out. It just depends on how many deer kills we have. It's going to come out either late January or early February. It just, again, depends on just how the deer vlogs go, because deer season ends, I think it's like January 15th here in Illinois. So that's the only thing I could dictate, but somewhere in that January, February mark, you'll see the hog hunting video from Koss. And yeah, just make sure you guys stay on here real quick when I end this recording. But everybody else, guys, that's podcast 99. Podcast 100 will be coming up here in the future. We've had a great deer season so far. October is great to us. November is looking good. and we still got gun season coming up. I know when this podcast comes out, we'll be 2 days away from Illinois gun season. So I know some deer always hit the ground from the team during gun season. It's going to be a blast, and just really looking forward to that. So make sure you like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Make sure you check the website. We got some new hats, some new T-shirts, coffee, all that good stuff's on the channel. We're on the website. You can use, since Ryan's on here, you can use Ryan's code. Get you some percentage off. Right now, he's losing the competition, so I know he would appreciate that.
You know what? I've got good advertisement. I put it out there and all that. I'm offering big discounts by using the key code, the red coat.
Red coat, yep.
I no itch, yeah. What I'm gonna have to buy my own shit.
You're losing to Nate of all people. Come on now.
Bought someone off. The man's bought someone off.
All righty, guys. Again, make sure you like, subscribe. We'll have plenty more footage and stuff coming to the channel. Thanks again. Stay safe out there.